Can't you straighten out that house?
That's why, no, this was before we had all that technology in Alley, but it was just really neat to see that things don't come from a grocery store. You can see the coffee beans, that they turn red. You have to pick it at the right time. So that's why you can't really automate coffee bean picking. That's why coffee's a little expensive. And then I'm going to switch over, skip a few countries and for time's sake. And the South American handbook said you need to go to the Galapagos Islands. I've never been anywhere, seen anything like it since. I kind of got inspired to do this by Charlie's daughter. What's your other daughter, your mother, what's her name?
Janet.
Yeah, Janet did a talk. I just love travel shows, and I thought, man, I'd like to see those Galapagos pictures. So I've never seen anything like it. And the main thing was the animals. And I traveled for 6 months for like $700. The dollar was so strong. I mean, I traveled till I ran out of money and got to the credit card. But we took this boat excursion for like $50 for a week, plus lobster. And every time the sun changed, the colors of everything would change. Check this rock out. I mean, it's just magnificent. And we spent the night underneath that rock. It was covered with, I thought penguins were a North Pole, South Pole thing. That rock was covered in penguins underneath. And here you can see some more nice real estate. The most amazing thing about Galapagos, and you've probably heard it or seen it on TV, is the animals have no fear. You can walk up to anything. You can walk up to a crab and pick it up and look at it. Except on the 2 islands where the American troops were stationed in World War II, target practice. Those 2 islands, they learned the shim and shake. But I mean, isn't that crazy to just walk up to an animal with 2 feet? You think maybe that's a shark attack? I have a shark story. If I've got time.
Good. Let's see.
Okay. I'll get to the sharks. There was just stuff everywhere. I'm kind of a scientist sort of guy. I just loved it. Here's the marine iguana. These can swim. Okay, how many iguanas are in that picture?
1, 2,
I know, right?
4, 5,
Close? 5?
7.
3?
I got 7.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another one. 8. 1, 2, 2, 4.
You kind of get tricked on. This one right here's got one over his head. I counted 13.
11. There's another one. I got 11. Good Lord.
But anyway, they blend right in. Also, you see all those shadows up here in the water? Every one of those is a huge turtle. And if you stuck your head underwater, it was just full of critters, including those hammerhead sharks with an eye on each end of their head. Here's the land iguana. This is the one Hollywood kept using for dinosaur movies because it was so prehistoric. And again, you could just walk. They said don't do it, but you could walk and just pick one up. And just, okay, sure, no problem. Here's the crabs, the beautiful. I used to know the name of them. And the seals were everywhere. I just had a friend went to Galapagos and he said, "Hey, I dove in the water and the seals swam with me." And I thought that's neat. It was 38 years ago when I dove in the water with a mask. They love you, and they swim with you and rub on you and rub your mask with their nose. I mean, it's just crazy.
Pelican. Crabs.
Here's the big famous Galapagos turtle. There's one that's supposed to be 402 years old in Japan. They were probably alive when Darwin set sail there. And they had a little reserve at Darwin Station where they would make sure. They actually had a variety of different species of these big turtles. They delineated. Okay, I'll tell the shark story. We spent a week on this boat. And we had a washing up bucket. British thing, everything that's like describes what it does to describe what it is. And I had washed up after a meal and threw the rice and whatever that was left in the bucket in the water. Boom, I mean, there's just fish everywhere. And then boom, there's just fins everywhere. So I rinsed it out again, and I threw it out again, and this time it slipped, and the bucket went in the water. And we're chugging along at this slow speed, and those two guys in the back, they looked at me like, what the did you just do? Do you know how far we are from another bucket in this world? And I thought about it, and I thought, they're right. So I jumped in. Swam to the bucket and waited what seems like half an hour for the boat to come back and get me, and I watched it and learned to pray a little harder than normal. Anyway, all's well that ends well. So I live to pick up more critters. And there's Logan said he met people on his recent journey that just travel. These two people have been traveling for 10 years. We met people in the Galapagos who just pulled in, and they said they've been sailing for 10 years around the world. You know, there's people that do that, somehow survive and stop and get a job. I don't know if they can still do it. Just incredible scenery. This looks like another world, doesn't it? I mean, you think you were on the moon?
That's where they filmed the moon? It really didn't happen, right?
Cristobal Carrera, when he ran out of money, became Chris Kerr again. You can see they're holding a book over my head. It says The Ugly American. And those were, we had a problem when we tried to leave Galapagos. The plane broke. And so there was just one plane on Tuesday and Thursday, twice a week, a plane came to an airport that didn't exist except on Tuesday and Thursday. But we couldn't get back to town, and they said, you know, just stay here for Thursday morning. When the other plane gets here, then you can leave. Sounded like a good idea, except there's no food or water. And we slept on the broken plane, and the crew got drunk and walked on their head. And it was one of those experiences at the airport that you usually write a letter. But the airline was owned by the Ecuadorian Army, so I mean, who are you going to complain to? So when I would travel, I was a traveling salesman for 20 years, and things would go wrong. I would always refer back to my plane trip to the Galapagos, and it wasn't so bad. And the plane flew in Thursday. A big crew of a cruise boat dropped off a few hundred people, and they got on the plane and left, and they kept us there. We were angry and hungry and thirsty, and those two girls led a rebellion, which we got food and water. They just kind of, the new plane, I mean the old plane, they brought some food and they brought a part to fix it. So while they were working on it, they threw the food and water on the tarmac, and we scrambled around like animals to eat it. So that was a great experience there. And one of those girls' name was Methane May. I don't know why. All right, so we're going to leave Galapagos in just a second, but this is the neatest story. This guy here is Gus Engelmeyer. He was German. He left Nazi Germany, or what was becoming Nazi Germany, in 1935 with his three brothers. There was actually five Engelmeyer brothers, but one of them drowned somewhere between Germany and the Galapagos. And they lived like Swiss Family Robinson. And one of his granddaughters written a very interesting book about her grandfather and the brothers who came to just rocks, lava rocks. And I bet they learned how to eat everything we saw in the pictures to survive. But he was really neat. He said, I haven't had shoes on since 1935. And that lava rock was very sharp, so he had these thick feet. And he caught me in town. I was just snapping away pictures, and Logan can appreciate this. He lost his camera in Europe, and I thought, well, maybe it'll be better. He can just look at things. And that's what Goose said to do. He said, quit taking pictures. You were here. Look at it. You know, be the critter. And he was at his hotel, 50 cents a night. The bed was a little hard. It was like a wicker placemat or hospital. But it was really neat. We got to know Goose so well that he let us come to his museum. This is the Smithsonian in the Galapagos Islands. And he had stuck these rocks together in his 20, 30 years there and put things in it that he thought were interesting. It was too dark inside, but he had wells strung together, different things that had floated up. And it was really cool. And he had a sign there, you can see our shoes. It's my Converse, which came back in style. I should have kept them right there. and it says, leave your shoes and worries outside and enter this cave as a simple man or woman, Gus Engelmeyer. So it was really neat. He had candles burning inside the cave. And after I got back, I I started digging out National Geographics, because Mom and Dad had every one that had ever been made. And anytime I saw Galapagos, I would grab it and look to see about it, and almost every time Goose was in it. So that was cool. Okay, the Columbia that saved Kim's life, this is kind of like what happened to us. He was a relative of the future president of Colombia, Roberto Uribe Alvaro Uribe Valdez. And you can see they even look alike. And I've lost track of Roberto at this point. Lally, the girl, I lost track of her too, but thanks to Facebook, I'm sure I'll find her. Taking the wrong direction. Richard Roberts from Greenville, the one that ran for Congress, he's now the Secretary of, the Commissioner of Tennessee Department of Revenue. And Bill Haslam picked him for that job. And like I say, we should have used that credit card. Next place was Machu Picchu, and I've never been. And then cousin Kim, you can see where he was healing. They took skin from the upper leg and covered the wound. Look at that wound on his leg. Oh my gosh. And that's Logan with Kim in the Smoky Mountains. And there's one of Kim's friends. You might recognize him on the far right. Since he does landscape architecture, he's actually, according to Logan, become a famous landscape architect.
Yeah.
And Prince Charles likes to put him on the Royal Air Force plane with, Kim said, I get to use real silverware, not plastic. And fly around the world to say, let's put that bush over there. How about a few orchids? You know, go figure. And me, I ended up with Tender Hearts, which I love doing, and taking care of seniors and juniors and handicapped children. That's my marketing person, Pat Grayson, who I met through my mom. He said, you better think twice about home care. And we kind of carry on my mom's legacy, who most of you all know, who was the first hospice nurse in Tennessee history. Pat Neal loved my mom because of that British accent, because Pat Neal spent a lot of time in England. So we're going to leave paradise and talk about Ebola.
Speech is over.
Yeah, back to the real world.
Yeah.
What's up?
You're right.
All right, it's enough time to kill us all. Okay. I'm a microbiologist in a previous life.